Good evening and welcome to the July 26, 2022 meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Is there anybody on the commission at this time who has any conflict of interest? No? All right. Can I get is there anybody who has any corrections to the minutes? No? All right. Then I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
I need a second.
I second.
Board Member Vega?
Yes.
Board Member Smith?
Yes.
Board Member Guerrero?
I wasn't here, so I abstained from voting.
Thank you. Board Member Bennett?
Yes.
Chair Gordon?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. There are no postponements. At this time of the meeting, we let the audience have anything to say. It's called public participation. If there is something you need to say that is not on the agenda this evening, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay, sir, you may come forward. I'll give you a couple, madam, I'm not sure, a couple of two minutes.
Commissioner, Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Carrie Daines. I live in the 6100 block of Limo Road, and I would like to respectfully ask that item 6.2 be pulled from consent agenda, and I would like to see a presentation because it's right next door to my house. I do have some concerns regarding lighting and other things that may be.
Okay, you can hold those comments. What item are you talking about, 6.2?
Yes, Mr.
Okay, in that case, well, you can take a seat and we'll have to pull that item from the agenda. And at that time, I will ask you for your comments.
Thank you for your consideration, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay. Then that brings us to the consent agenda. Apparently, there is someone in the audience who wishes to speak. So is there anybody who wishes to speak on item from the commission on item 6.1? Seeing none. All right, on item 6.2, we're going to have to pull. So you can come up now and you can speak.
Do you want to approve the 6.1?
I'll wait till he's done. Then I'll do them both.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, I would just like to request a presentation, and after that I could probably give a better comment. It's my understanding that there's a presentation on what exactly will be done.
All right, is there someone here from the applicant? Okay, sir, would you please come forward? How about someone from staff? John, I guess he wants to have a presentation, so you're on. John, before you start, maybe since there's no one interested in having anything to say about 6.1, why don't we just vote on that? This way John Moscato can leave. Is there anybody who has any comments or needs to have any questions? Anybody in the audience on 6.1? Well, then can I have a motion to just approve that item on the consent?
I make a motion to approve.
I'll need a second.
I second.
Board Member Vega?
Yes.
Board Member Smith?
Yes.
Board Member Guerrero?
Yes.
Board Member Bennett?
Yes.
Chair Gordon?
Yes.
That passes.
Okay. Thank you, John, anyway. Okay. John, go ahead.
All right. Good evening, Commission, Mr. Chair, rest of the Commission. Today we're going to bring you the Supreme Subdivision Number 1 preliminary plat. Currently, it is located south of Payan Road and north of Lima Road, which is east of Porter Drive. The property is approximately 0.949 acres. It is currently zoned R1AM, which is our single-family medium-density mobile. And it is, as it sits right now, it is a vacant, undeveloped tract of land. As you can see from here, this is a zoning map. The subject property is hatched and highlighted in yellow. Here's an aerial view of the subject property. So a little background on the property is, right now, the applicant is seeking reapproval of the preliminary plat known as Supreme Subdivision Number 1. On November 1st of 2017, it did go before our Development Review Committee, and it was given a recommendation of approval. And then in November of 2017, it went before the Planning and Zoning Commission, which was approved 6-0. So what the applicant is proposing is to subdivide the existing residential lot into 4 new lots. These lots will all be roughly 0.234 acres in size. All drainage will be maintained by each lot within the property. And right now it is proposed for single-family residential housing. This is an image of the subdivision. Public notice was sent to all relevant, public notice was sent to the surrounding properties. Staff did receive a few phone calls regarding the type of development that will be occurring on the property. Also, it was sent to all reviewing agencies, and all departments supported the proposed preliminary plat. The Design Review Committee met in June of 2022, once again to review the proposed subdivision. As part of this, it was given an approval with conditions that there be separate utility stub-outs to each lot, which will need to be constructed prior to the subdivision approval at the final plat stage. Staff recommends, at this time, staff is recommending approval based on the following findings. It provides access to lots within a residential subdivision, which are from a dedicated and accepted improved public right-of-way. The proposed preliminary plat meets all objectives of the preliminary plat as required by the subdivision code. And based upon review by relevant city staff, the proposed preliminary plat complies with all requirements of the 2001 zoning code as amended, as well as the City of Las Cruces subdivision code and design standards. Today, your options will be to vote yes to approve, vote no to deny, or vote yes with conditions.
All right, John, thank you. Is there someone here from the applicant who can explain basically what's going to happen there so that maybe this lady will have a better feeling of what's going on? I think that's primarily her concern.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Ted Scanlon. I'm at 2990 North Main Street, Suite 3C, and I represent the applicant.
I'd have to swear you in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
I do.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I don't have anything really to add to the presentation that Mr. Castillo just made, but I am here to inform the commission that our intent is 4 lots. They're on existing streets. We have one condition from utilities that we construct all of the utility stub outs to the lots before the final plat can be filed, which we have no issues with. It's our intent to, and as we have up to now, complied with all of the city's various codes, conditions, not asking for any waivers, variances, or anything like that, just 100% in compliance with the code, little 4-lot subdivision.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, you can come up and maybe you can address Mr. Scanlon and see if he can answer your concerns. But before you do, please give us your name again and your address and let me swear you in.
Yes. My name is Carrie Danes. My address is 6145 Limo Road.
Okay, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Actually, I would just urge the commission, Mr. Chair and commissioners, I would just urge the commission to vote yes with conditions. I do have concerns with the lighting that may or may not be required, and I understand that they'll be putting in the utilities, but this is going to be directly next door to me, and I am concerned about the traffic increasing, the dust increasing, things of that nature. I've worked very hard on my particular piece of property to make it very appealing and curb appeal, and I don't have any problem with the subdivision itself. I just want to make sure that it, to be quite honest, doesn't really bring down my property values, because I've worked and put a lot of money into my property. So I would want to make sure that the appropriate lighting, if they do put in mobile homes, that they are skirted and things of that nature appropriately, which I think is all the code. I just want to make sure that that is going to occur, specifically lighting, because it is pretty dark there, and I've put in my own lighting, so I just have a vested interest in what's going in next door to me. So I would just, I don't have any problem with the subdivision itself. I think we need affordable housing. It's in a working class neighborhood, and I think that's very important. But I also want to make sure that it is suitable for everyone to live there.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Commissioner and Commissioners. I don't have any more comment. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mrs. Scanlon, you have heard her concerns, so you can answer what she's concerned about?
Yes, as I stated previously, up to this point and beyond this point, we are in full compliance with all of the city's regulations and all of the codes and everything, and I don't know what else we can do besides comply with everything. So.
Okay, then, thank you. All right, is there anybody from the commission who has any questions? Seeing none, anyone else from this audience? All right, then maybe we are ready for a vote. Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion to approve this 6.2. Sorry, 6.2.
I second.
Board Member Vega?
I vote yes. Do I need to give reason behind?
Yes, please.
So if we can vote yes with conditions, can we just make a note that the requests from the resident are added into our vote as far as the lighting goes and meeting the other requirements for the housing that will be put in place?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner Vega, this is David Weir with the Community Development Department. As a part of the approval, you could, as your condition, or excuse me, as your vote, you can state that you took the concerns of the member of the public, the adjacent neighbor, into consideration. The minutes will become a part of the record, and all city standards will be required. And so as the development is constructed, the subdivision is platted, they'll have to go through all the permitting process, and at that time we'll maintain the standards. As you said, if it's a site-built home, all the building codes will be followed. If it's a siting of a manufactured home, again, all those requirements for the skirting and utility connections will be required. And then if there is something that's not being met, the neighborhood will have the opportunity to contact codes, and staff would follow up and make sure that all our standards are enforced.
Thank you. Okay, I vote yes based on staff recommendation.
Board Member Smith?
Yes, based on staff recommendation, and it meets neighborhood character and compatibility.
Board Member Guerrero?
I'll vote yes as well with conditions. I understand the residents' concerns. I believe that they should have appropriate lighting and safety as well. So my vote is for yes with conditions.
Board Member Costa? I realize you just got here, so I apologize. You can abstain from the vote if you'd like, but you need to turn your mic on so that I can hear you. There you go.
Alrighty, and I'm going to go ahead and vote to yes to approve. Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Bennett?
I vote yes to approve based on staff recommendation, meets Elevate Las Cruces and the objectives of a preliminary plan.
Board Member Gordon?
I vote yes based on staff recommendations, and certainly to echo what Mr. Weir had said, and which has been added to the minutes. All right, then that'll take care of the consent agenda. But before we continue, there is no old business, but I, at this time, would like to welcome, even though he's a little late, Mr. Acosta to the commission as our new member. I wish you well. All right. Okay, so then we'll go to new business. Mr. Benegas.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Vincent Benegas, interim planner. For the record, I'll be presenting the following case involving 750 South Main Street. It is a special use permit request for case 22Z01000081. Current conditions involve the following. The property is presently Zone C2, originally developed as a gasoline service station back in the day. It now exists and has existed for several years now as a used car dealership. It's my understanding that the current owner is seeking retirement, and hence the opportunity to acquire the property is taking place, which now triggers the need for this request. The property is located at the northeast corner of South Main Street and Alameda Boulevard and involves roughly just shy of half an acre size. The surrounding neighborhood is primarily retail and office, and those are the immediate properties that surround the subject property. The R1A zone, which is the zone, single-family residential zoning in question, which triggers the need to come before you, is located a little bit further to the west. And the supporting zoning districts that involve all these uses, both retail, or I should say residential and non-residential, involve the R1A, which is our medium-density residential zone, our O1, which is our low-intensity office with limited residential, our C2 C1, which is our low-intensity commercial, C2 is medium, C3 is high-intensity commercial, and then, of course, our downtown development code with a subzone of downtown. That downtown district basically surrounds the subject property on the north and falls within our downtown area, our CBD. Here is a zoning map that illustrates what I have spoke to. This is the DT designation for the downtown. Subject property is outlined here in red. You do have C1 zoning immediately adjacent along Alameda Boulevard, more or less serving as a land use buffer, if you will, to the R1A or the single-family development located here. Farther north, you have C2 zoning, and you also have some C3 zoning further south of the subject property, some O1 here. So there is a distinct band of non-residential zoning that exists along Alameda Boulevard, again, serving to buffer the subject property in question. This is the aerial view of the subject property once again. This to the east, you have a lot of state and, of course, Las Cruces Public School offices, administration building here. You do have a lot of retail and office in the downtown district, and some low-intensity retail, some office, and some medical office located in this proximity in the band along Alameda. At the El Molino Boulevard, Alameda Boulevard intersection on this subject property, there does exist a medical marijuana facility that is grandfathered in, that was allowed pursuant to previous requirements or regulations that were in effect prior to our cannabis regulations, meeting state standards at the time. And a lot of those throughout the city, those that came in as medical marijuana, some are opting to do the retail cannabis, much like what is being requested here at this intersection. So some history with the subject property. The building that sits there was constructed in 1970. At the time, it appears to have met all the building requirements and zoning requirements of the time, and it has been commercially zoned since pre-70, 1970, which serves as our base year for our zoning designations and our research. It is presently C2 as indicated. The proposal that has been submitted is to place a retail cannabis store at this location. The site meets all of the distance requirements except for those involving the single-family residential zoning district boundary. What you may find is the applicant for the cannabis business who has a presentation this evening may show a different distance, buffer distance from the perimeter of their proposed building to the single-family residential district. It appears as if they took their dimension from footprint to actual single-family footprint as opposed to district boundary. So my measurement comes to 218 feet. It's approximately 82 feet of a shortfall to the required 300 feet or foot distance. Again, all other buffer distances are met, and those are from cannabis to cannabis and other requirements such as schools and daycares. Ultimately, if approved this evening, the use will have to follow both CLC and state of New Mexico regulations governing cannabis and related retail activity. These are a couple of snapshots of the information they provided. To the left is a site plan showing the proposed layout. The building with the canopy, that is existing. It certainly does appear, based on the snapshot on the right, that there will be some interior work in order to make it compliant with necessary cannabis regulations. You do have some of the parking outlined here, which would indicate ingress, egress along Alameda Boulevard at this location. And they do specify a shared ingress, egress point as another primary point of access for the property, indicating access from there to these 90-degree stalls along this area. It's my understanding, at least at present, there are some gates that close off this entry and this entry, and certainly as the permit gets reviewed for any and all interior work, those will be identified as areas of concern in that they're in very close proximity to one another, and certainly at the intersection of the two arterial roadways. So I don't see those being an issue. And they're certainly not now because they're not used, but I think that'll continue in the future if, again, this is approved. A couple of photos showing the site. Currently, again, used car dealership. And these are a little dated, but nonetheless show the property as it is relative to some of the other retail establishments along Main Street. This here is Alameda Boulevard, and of course off to my right, or to the right of the slide, is Main Street. A lot of the properties, once again, along Alameda are non-residential in nature, and the same goes for those along Main Street. This is looking more down Main Street at the corner property here. Certainly busy roadway, arterial designation for both roadways, so you do see quite a bit of activity. It's unlikely that any of the traffic pattern that gets generated by the proposed use is going to have a significant impact to the residential area in question. I think you're going to see much of the same. in terms of use and traffic demand that the proposed use may generate. And then bottom slide is just showing from the Alameda side the subject property, and you'll notice that immediately adjacent to the subject property off to the north is, it used to be a car repo lot, so for the most part it's vacant. It's used in to a little degree just for the purpose of storage, if you will, of the vehicles. And they shot down Alameda Boulevard, again showing some of the area in question. Here's that lot that I was just talking about. The old city offices are down a ways, and those lot of offices in this area. So from a public input notice requirement, staff did send out letters as required pursuant to code to the surrounding property owners. As a result of that effort, I did receive 2 phone calls, one of general inquiry and one certainly from a protest slant. They indicated there was already crime in the immediate area in the neighborhood, and they were fearful that this use might generate some additional concern. And then they did cite a cannabis location already in the proximity of the neighborhood, and that's off of that El Molino location that I specified. Again, non-conforming in nature, in that it was a medical marijuana establishment pursuant to state law. The city did receive a protest letter. I did include that in your packet. The attorney who represented a client indicated that there was some procedural conflict with this process. They talked to both the special use permit process and the variance process, and their concern was that the SUP process, special use process, was circumventing that of the variance steps, if you will, in terms of consideration of distances, buffer distances specifically. So from a recommendation and findings of fact perspective, staff does recommend approval. The findings for approval are as follows. Except for the distance to the single-family district boundary, all other buffer distances are met. The subject property was developed pursuant to the applicable codes at the time and met said codes, and the property has been commercially zoned since pre-70. And the property has retail, or I should just say compatibility, with several other properties immediately adjacent to Alameda Boulevard. Those properties provide that buffer that I mentioned from a land use perspective between the subject property and the residential zoned area. And the ingress and egress to the subject property along South Main and Alameda should not pose any significant impact to the residential neighborhood. And the application, the proposal meets the purpose and intent of Section 38.2 of the zoning code. And it's also a known fact that these type of uses, along with the special use request, will meet all the requirements both within the zoning code, building code when permits are submitted for any interior work, and those of the state, that they will follow all provisions as necessary. There were several goals and policies and actions of this comprehensive plan that supported this type of request, this type of use, and that it's a retail-oriented use. This area falls within the downtown place type, which is suggestive of a mix of residential and non-residential land uses associated with a thriving central business district. The predominant land uses include residential, civic, commercial, lodging, and retail. And from a goal policy perspective, the supporting language speaks to mixed-use neighborhoods, expanding economic opportunities, increase in employment opportunities and economic security, and provisions for a wide range of business types along key corridors and thoroughfares. So your options with this request this evening are as follows. You can vote yes and approve the request. Vote no and deny it. If you take that route, please provide your findings of fact and that the ones presented this evening are in favor of the request. You can vote yes with conditions and make that part of your motion, or you can vote to table. And once again, Mr. Chairman, I believe the prospective business owner has a presentation, and I also believe Mr. Gary Sandler, who's a representative for both seller and buyer, may be in attendance this evening and may also have a few words. So that concludes staff's presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Benitez. Is there anybody from the commission who has any questions? Okay, Mr. Acosta.
And perhaps it's going to be addressed here in the presentation. I just wanted to clarify if this space is going to be used for consumption as well.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Acosta, I'll let the applicant speak to that issue. It's my understanding based on the application that it was just retail.
All right, anyone else? I have a question just before you sit down. Sure. Just so this is just for clarification so everyone understands. Your measurement is from the property line and not the edge of the building, correct?
Mr. Chairman, my measurement as required by the code is from the building footprint of the proposed use, the cannabis use, to the zoning code district boundary. Those boundaries are typically middle of the right-of-way.
So it doesn't go from the edge of the building, is that what you're saying, all the way across the street?
So in this case, my measurement was right where the arrow is pointing to, which is the corner of the building.
Right.
And then it follows, oops. It goes to that location to the nearest point, which happened to be right here in the right-of-way. That's the R1A district boundary that is closest to the edge of the building that I pointed out.
And that's within 300 feet?
That's within 300 feet.
All right, thank you. Okay, does the applicant have anything to add? Would like to speak? If you come forward and give your name and address, and let me swear you in, please.
Good evening. My name's Sean Maddox, address 455 Linden Street, which is actually in Laguna Beach, California. Yeah.
Let me swear. Let me swear you in, please. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to try to get this presentation up. Before I do, I'd like to thank the commission and the chair for having me here tonight. I'd also like to clarify the question with regard to consumption. No consumption is planned on site. Just want to give a quick presentation and breakdown of the site and our proposed business. How do I go full screen on this? Apologies. There you go. So again, my name is Sean Maddox. I'm here on behalf of Off the Charts and our request for a special use permit for the location at 750 South Main Street. As brought up earlier, the special use parameters are really based off of the Cannabis Regulation Act, which gives local jurisdictions the right to decide time, place, and manner rules. The Las Cruces Municipal Code for cannabis retailers in the C1, C2, and C3 zone require buffers from school daycares and commercial schools, which we meet. It also requires a buffer from single-family residential zones as well as other cannabis retailers. In our scenario, we meet all buffers except for the single-family residential zone. I do want to call attention to the bolded, which lays out the fact that the municipal code makes an express exception for a special use permit when any of the single-family residential zone is impinged on. Just a quick background, Off the Charts has been looking at Las Cruces since the beginning of the year. We want to be in this community. It's a great fit for our store and kind of our business ethos. It's been very hard to find property because of the buffers and zoning, and we've actually passed up on multiple locations because of being closer to residential or impinging on one of the other buffers. This location seemed to be unique in that it was pretty far distant. As mentioned, there's actually a kind of land use buffer as well as a 4-lane, arterial thoroughfare, which provides a buffer between this location and the residences. Once we found this location, we immediately reached out to city planning to have a pre-application meeting to discuss our request for a special use permit to see whether or not they agreed with and would support it. Based off of that pre-application meeting, we submitted a permit as quickly as possible, and that led to us being here in front of you today. Just a quick slide on the site and context. As was mentioned in the staff report, this actually measures from the edge of building to edge of building, not from edge of building to edge of zoning district. And these measurements show that it's approximately 261 feet away. We're not here to debate the distance. We know that we're within the 300 feet, but we do feel, again, based off of the site map, that South Alameda Boulevard and the C1 buffer kind of creates, I think, a special case where we're not next door to residential, and many of the concerns that would be related to proximity to residential are abated. On the next slide, I want to bring up just kind of path of travel distances as another way to kind of contextualize the distance between the site and the nearest residential. The closest pedestrian path of travel is over 638 feet, and then the closest path of travel for a vehicle is over 315 feet. So in both cases, over 300, and again, kind of shows that the accessibility to residential from the site is pretty attenuated. Yeah, just want to give a quick background of the business for the sake of the commissioners. I think to provide context on the economic benefit of approval. Off the Charts is a cannabis retailer that's been in operation since 2018. They have 6 current operational facilities in California and have expansions at about 1 per month over the next year, with more locations in California as well as locations in New Jersey, Ohio, and Albuquerque, New Mexico. We did look for Las Cruces before Albuquerque, but again, hard to find the property, so prolonged that getting us here. All of Off the Chart stores feature robust community integration initiatives. It's part of being a sensitive use. We're coming to a neighborhood, we want to be good actors, we want to fit in as opposed to stick out. Part of these integration measures include an open house. Anytime we open a facility, about 2 to 3 weeks before opening our doors, we send out notices to surrounding neighbors, city staff, the police department, and have people come and voice their concerns, get to know us, get to meet our community liaison, and know that we're here to serve the community and appease any concerns that they may have. Another unique thing that we do is we have employee volunteer participation, so we actually pay employees to go participate in community outreach and do community service initiatives. We're focused on local hiring to create economic opportunities for the cities that we operate in. If granted the SUP, we'll immediately join the Chamber of Commerce here. And then another kind of unique thing is that we do host on-site workshops and events, and these are things that are just kind of outreaches to the community. We provide information on cannabis use, responsible use, warnings about usage, dangers of usage, and all of those things. In addition to our general outreach, we have robust nuisance mitigation procedures. We have a robust odor control plan, which I'll hit on the next slide. We typically have a traffic control plan for all of our sites to make sure that our traffic doesn't impede on the surrounding neighborhoods. And then a unique feature, some cities require it, but we do it at all of our locations, is having a 24/7 community liaison. It's usually a local manager who's available to city staff and neighbors if any concerns or complaints come up surrounding the business. Typically, these sites, security is a big concern. I saw one of the phone and communications was relating to security. Studies have actually shown that cannabis businesses increase security in surrounding neighborhoods. We will be having 24-hour security and monitoring. There will be surveillance on site, which has exterior license plate reading capability, interior facial recognition capability. Everything on site, will be locked up at the end of the day and is heavily secured. But the, inclusion of roving security patrol, 24-hour security, and alarm and monitoring with live feed to local law enforcement actually makes these facilities safer than the businesses that preceded them. More neighborhood compatibility. Again, odor control, I think, typically comes up with these facilities, and everyone wants to make sure that you don't have a stinky pot shop on the corner of your big business district. We do implement best in practice procedures for odor mitigation. That includes negative pressurization of an HVAC with activated carbon filtration. Essentially, we have an HVAC system that pulls more air out of the facility than is let in. So if somebody opens an exterior door, air comes in, anything that gets pulled through our HVAC system is filtered through these activated carbon filters to ensure that no odors escape the facility. Additional measures, we implement green practices in design of our buildings as well as our standard operating procedures. Lastly, just a quick summary of our community impact. Our current 6 locations are averaging around or over $10 million in revenue at each location. We think that we can do similar numbers here in Las Cruces if we do it right. That would allow us to create robust local employment opportunities. We're projecting over $1 million in annual salary, wages, and benefits to the local community. At all of our locations, we give wages at or above the local living wage, which means that a starting hourly would be at least $15.32 to any employee on site. We also emphasize local hiring and social equity hiring. Local hiring and promoting within is a key of all of our stores. I think we have over 75% local hiring in all of the cities and counties that we operate in. And we also focus on hiring socioeconomically affected communities. This includes veterans, immigrant communities, as well as focusing on communities that were impacted by the war on drugs. Kind of as a last point, we have looked at the site. We do plan some pretty hefty renovations to the interior as well as the exterior. We'd be doing exterior rehabilitation. We plan on doing some landscaping when we work through the planning process. We're looking at over $500,000 in investment to the site, which will bring up the aesthetic of the exterior and the community. And then in addition to that, based off of revenue, we do proportion a percentage of our funds to local associations. And as mentioned earlier, we work with our staff to make sure that we're felt within the community through servicing local community organizations. That's the end of the slideshow. Again, I'd like to thank staff for the recommendation, and we ask that the commission follow staff's recommendation. But really, we're looking at this as a unique opportunity to be here in your community. We view it as a relationship with the community. We're not coming in here trying to impose our will. We're trying to come in here, be a good neighbor, create economic opportunities, and do something that's going to better your community. So I hope staff takes that into consideration, and I appreciate your time. And if you guys have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Is there anyone on the commission who has any questions? Commissioner Vega?
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. I like that you mentioned reaching out to veterans, people that have been affected by the war on drugs. What does that actually look like in terms of hiring and bringing those individuals into your establishment?
So usually we'll look for local veterans associations and make sure that we're posting to any job boards and things like that. We prioritize it in the hiring process, but at the end of the day, for equal opportunity employment reasons, we can't say you're a veteran, we're going to hire you, but it's taken into consideration, and we usually work with just local veterans organizations to ensure that they're given access and reached out to when we're bringing on new employees.
And then as far as individuals that have been affected by, misdemeanor crimes and now can, how do I want to say this, by the war on drugs. Yeah. How do you find and what are your hiring practices like if you have someone that had like a misdemeanor or something that was related to a small amount of marijuana?
So we do run background checks on the majority of our employees just based off being a sensitive use in general. In most states that we operate in, we're not allowed to hire felons and people of, higher convictions. But again, this kind of goes back to the local community and working with local associations. Most communities have some type of social justice initiative or organization that we'd reach out to and place job placements. In other states and cities, we've also hosted expungement clinics. So anybody who would show up, we would say, hey, look, we're looking to hire people like you who've been wronged by the war on drugs and try to bring them into the interview process and make sure that they've got a shot at getting a job with us.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Anyone else? Just put your light on and I'll know. Mr. Acosta, Commissioner Acosta.
Got it right here. So just wanted to ask how much you were aware, or if you are aware of the Elevate Las Cruces plan?
We are not.
Okay. And other than that, any sort of experience working with any of your other, planning and zoning committees in any of your other various cities on what you guys have done to help develop some of the character of the neighborhoods that you're entering?
Yeah, we've got extensive experience because we've opened 6 and we've got another 12 in process right now. So, this is a collaborative process. We look to planning and zoning. We accept conditions of approval when asked upon us. In designing the building and building it out, obviously there's some interior things that we need to do. But beyond that, again, it's a collaborative process with the city and their commissioners and anybody on their review boards. So we've got extensive experience there. And then, our community relations and community liaison outreach is typically the one that's going to be reaching out to Elevate Las Cruces or some of these organizations to make sure that we're finding the right people within the community to work with and emphasize our efforts on.
Thank you. And I just do think it'd be great for you to, make yourself aware of it, as you're going to be in one of the most highly trafficked corridors here, in town. If that's the case, El Paseo Road right there between Alameda and El Paseo is a big part of some of that future Elevate development plan here for the city. So I think as a big time company coming in and something like that, that'd be some considerations that I'd like to see on my side if we were to push those things through.
Absolutely.
Anyone else?
I just have a comment.
Commissioner Smith.
Hi, I've been living just a few blocks away from the current business for 23 years, and I just wanted to address the concern that one of the public had about increasing crime. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Kilby Hotel. It's been a real problem with crime in that area for a long, long time. I just want to state that I don't think having a cannabis business here will have any increase or negative impact on crime in that area. If anything, as the applicant has stated, it may be even less crime. But I just wanted to state that I'm very familiar with that area after living here for such a long time.
Anyone else? I have a question. How many employees do you think you're going to have?
If all goes to plan, we're hoping over 30 employees and upwards of 40 to 50. And a lot of that just depends on, revenue and flow rate and how many people we're seeing. Right. But we think at least 25, more likely in the 30 to 40
right.
range.
And you're going to be local hiring?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Is this a publicly owned company or is this all private?
It's a family-owned, and I love working for them. It's a husband-wife team. They started modestly. They haven't taken any big investors yet, and they've, expanded on the fruits of their labor, and they've been really successful. And, part of this is treating their staff right and being proper in the communities that they work in. I've loved working for them. I have ownership in a few of their shops and plan to here, but it's definitely not a public. We're one of the bigger operators in California, but we don't operate like a public company.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else from the applicant who wishes to speak? If not, is there anyone from the audience who wishes to speak? Yep. Just please wait a minute, hold on a second. Just let's do this in order. There to be 3 people? So please raise your hand again, 3 people. Okay, so let's start here on the right with the gentleman in the front. I'll give you 3 minutes. That's a long enough time, I think. If you will please give us your name and address and let me swear you in.
My name is Gary Sandler, and my address is 201 North Church Street here downtown in my business.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
I do.
All right, sir, go ahead.
Commissioner and Chairman, I would really appreciate the opportunity to talk to you all here tonight. I just wanted to touch on about 3 points that were previously touched on from a real estate perspective, since I'm representing the buyer and the seller, and I have been in real estate for, I don't even want to say, almost 50 years. I started when I was 7. I want to talk about the family business. I know these folks. I've been interacting with them for a number of months, and as this process began, and I hear the kids in the background, and it really is truly a family business, and I appreciate what they're doing. They're really doing it on their own from the ground up, and they're really successful at it. The second point I want to make is about the distance, the buffer there. If you all are familiar with that particular area, you can't even see the housing. Really, you'd have to make an effort to see where the houses are. There's quite a bit of retail and commercial around that area. But I think the last point I want to make, and probably the most important, is I've been talking with the owners about their plans for the physical location itself, and they have a plan to turn that corner into something that Las Cruces could be proud of. And if you look at it now, I mean, it's a 40-year-old, 50-year-old gas station, this metal sticking out all over the place, and I think what they're going to do with landscaping and the building itself is going to really enhance the gateway to downtown Las Cruces. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. All right, then I believe the gentleman in the rear on that side. Thank you. Will you come forward and state your name and address, and let me swear you in, please? Yeah, I'll give you the same 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Jed Fanning, and I'm representing Citizens Bank. Address is 505 South Main.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
I do.
Go ahead, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the existing zoning requirement for a 300-foot buffer distance between a cannabis retail establishment and single-family residential zoning district is based on standards and guidance initially laid out for retail cannabis sales. With retail cannabis sales new to Las Cruces community in New Mexico, deviation should not be considered until long-term data shows the impact to residential zoning close to this 300-foot buffer. Making deviations now cannot be supported by any statistical data. Most importantly, deviations dilute the intended purpose of the original zoning buffer. Said another way, granting this special use permit would set a precedent that runs the risk of negatively impacting the intent and the benefits of having a defined buffer area between residences and retail cannabis. Not only do residential properties fall within this 300-foot buffer, as has been pointed out, but 2 entities that cater to minors are within or very close to that 300-foot buffer. The Tutti Bambini Children's Clothing Store is one, and then across the street to the east and southeast is the Challenger Learning Center of Las Cruces. So therefore, I would encourage you to take this into consideration and not approve the special use permit. Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you. I believe the gentleman on the back. That's it. Yes, sir. You can have the same 3 minutes. Just please give us your name and address, and let me swear you in.
Thank you, Commissioner. I speak a little bit English, but I understand most of what you guys are talking about.
Okay, but please first, I need your name.
My name is Jose Antonio Rivera, a.k.a. Dulce.
Okay, let me swear you in first. Do you swear? Raise your hand. You swear That you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalties of law?
Yes, sir.
Fine, go ahead.
Okay, I live in 375, close to the other dispensary, and now they're going to open another dispensary. And I'm going to be victim of many crimes and the apartments that I live, and I think it's not benefits for the community to open another dispensary close to what we got another one. We have the other one. So I broke my car many times, and my apartment windows get broke, and I think so it's just not me. It's a lot of people is having a lot of complaints about this other new business that's coming to town, and that's just my concern. That it's not as safe for the neighbors. It's not safe for the people who's going to eat to the Denny's restaurant in there, and to the community. That's my concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Ma'am? If you would please state your name and your address and let me swear you in, please.
Okay. My name is Billy Taylor. My address is 5740 Vista Verde Road.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
Yes.
And you have the same 3 minutes, ma'am.
Okay. I represent Tutti Bambini, which is a children's thrift store on the corner of El Molino and Alameda. I'm president of the board of directors of this organization, which was started by Sister Beth approximately 10 years ago. We've been located on that corner for 10 years. We have children coming with their parents, especially mothers and grandmothers coming to our store. And we have some concerns about having another dispensary. Sister Beth was unable to be here this evening, so she asked me to read a short letter from her. I had planned to join Billy Taylor at this hearing, but I'm in quarantine because of being exposed to COVID. I'm not opposed to cannabis dispensaries in our town. However, I'm not in favor of having another dispensary close to our children's thrift store on the corner of El Molino and Alameda. We're located directly south of Sacred Garden Dispensary. A major concern is the safety of our customers, mostly women and children, due to the increase in traffic. The area around El Paseo and Main and Alameda is so congested much of the time. My opinion is that adding this business will further compromise this area and create hazardous conditions for customers entering and leaving our parking lot. And that's from Sister Beth. So I concur with her concerns about having this business, especially if they're going to be using Alameda to go in and out of their business. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else? Gentlemen, yes, sir. You'll have the same 3 minutes, and please give us your name and your address, and let me swear you in also.
Reuben Smith.
All right. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead. Thank you.
First of all, let me say, when I left office here some 20 years ago as mayor, I told him I would never be attending meetings to give input, my views on anything, unless somebody were to ask me to come in on their behalf. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I happen to own property that's within the residential area. And that's where Sister Beth lives. I purchased that property years ago so that she could live there in case she got to the point she's 80 plus years old. I hope she doesn't get too upset about that. I've only got 3 seconds left.
He didn't reset the timer. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Hit it again when we hit 2 seconds. So I purchased that property in order for her to live there in case she couldn't walk, couldn't drive anymore. She probably shouldn't be driving now, but so she could be easy accessible. I want you to know that it's important. Billy just talked to you about Tutti Bambini. When we, the city, created Community of Hope, it was Sister Beth who came with her partner, Sister Ana, to create the Jardín de los Niños, which is part of Community of Hope. After that, several years, they started and took over the tienda, which is referred to as on Alameda right now, across from this proposed development. They proceeded to give back to this community hundreds of thousands of dollars back to the community to help the homeless, in particular the children. When she left the Jardín, the tienda, she moved across the street and began Tutti Bambini and has been there ever since. Those are the kind of things that are important to our community. And she never comes out against anything. This is the first I've known she would ever do that. She's coming out against it for legitimate reasons. I began the downtown development over 20 years ago. And I can tell you, after 20 years, we've just begun to see what downtown development can be, the redevelopment. Now we're into the Elevate Las Cruces, and we're talking about from that corner clear on down to El Paseo. It is imperative, I feel, that we initiate and start this particular project on the right foot. There are hundreds of locations that other well-intentioned, big family cannabis operations can locate in Las Cruces. I don't think we need to begin to create the perception that if you meet the requirement, oh, we'll give you a little adjustment of 80 feet, no problem. And then who's to say that that empty lot next door could conceivably come for the same kind of issue? And then you'll be hard-pressed, the city would be hard-pressed to deny them. I just asked you to think, what is it that we want this community to look like in terms of creating a cannabis business right there in a very prime location that I am sure other retail establishments are going to jump at. I would just say, think about what you want this community to look like, and the perception, it's a perception as many times as reality, what that would create. They already have one just right across the street from them, literally. I thank you, and I hope you would take that into consideration.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody on the commission who wishes to ask any questions or make any comments at this point? All right, seeing none. So I'm sorry. Turn your light on and I'll see it.
I'm sorry. You know, once again, I go back to you know, my sensitivity to opposition to this this business. As I stated earlier, I've lived just a couple of blocks away from this proposed business for 23 years, and I really, really love that neighborhood. And I have known the owner of the car dealership for many years, and I know how hard he has worked over the past decades to keep his business established there. And the growth that has happened downtown, I've been very excited about because of my time here and being a resident there. And I understand as far as giving a, you know, 82-foot variance on this. We've already previously made, you know, decisions in other businesses downtown, and you know, this business does meet all of, you know, the requirements, and this waiver is it's actually, as far as access and proximity to residences, it's actually, you know, it doesn't appear to have an impact. And if I wasn't so, you know, invested in that neighborhood about safety and crime and how it appears, you know, as far as having this type of business there, I would definitely be concerned about it. But you know, don't feel that having this business here will have that significant of an impact. So it's something that I'm taking into consideration as I think about my vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else? Commissioner Costa?
All right, and I'm just circling back here one more time. I think this is a great opportunity to come together and offer some, possibly even help with, Sister Beth's situation in the thrift store and the children that are, the children's thrift store that's happening there, the mom and women and children traffic. I think this is a great time for you and your business coming in here to align and do some great things for the community if you had that, choice, especially in an extremely prime location where the 200 feet just looks different when it's flowing all the time, at least in my own opinion. However, I'd really encourage taking that community engagement opportunity here that you pitched in your very, very good cookie cutter, planning and zoning presentation that you have here, but to take that time and do some tailoring to Las Cruces is gonna benefit us, and I think that would be what we're looking for from the cannabis businesses going forward, in terms of safety and stuff like that, and things that are going on in that El Paseo corridor and in our district here, and what we're trying to have downtown look like. So, I mean, you're looking at, probably stuff you've probably done before, trees, lights, neon art, directly working with Sister Beth and that children's thrift store and coming up with something to actually help them as a local business owner here too, and even considerably a future competitor in that regard. I still think you have a great opportunity to look at how to make this a better place as you enter, and I think that's something that the community could benefit from if considerably, if approved. So I'd like some conditions. And that's it, and thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, we're at the point now where, unless there's someone else now who wishes to speak. All right, if not, we're at a point here where we're going to vote, but before we vote, I want to apprise everybody here in the auditorium that there are two options here. If the commission votes to approve this, then the neighborhood would have 15 days to appeal to City Council. All right? If we deny it, then the applicant has 15 days in which to appeal to City Council. So knowing that, these are your options. So it's not, if in some case it's not the end, but you do have that choice. All right, so I think we're ready for a vote. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve 8.1.
I second.
Board Member Vega?
I vote yes based on site visit and staff recommendation.
Board Member Smith?
I vote yes based on site visit and staff recommendation.
Board Member Guerrero?
I vote yes as well based on staff recommendation and the comprehensive plan as well.
Board Member Acosta?
I vote yes, but I'd like to add in the conditional of actually directly coming up with a solution with Sister Beth and making them feel taken care of, and making sure their efforts here in our community have not ever feel threatened.
Mr. Chairman, point of order. You're voting on a motion. There's been no motion made to add an amendment to that, so you'll have to go through with the vote.
Forgive me. Motion, I vote yes based on the other motion.
Board Member Bennett?
I vote to approve based on staff recommendation, site survey, and elevate Las Cruces.
Chair Gordon?
Based on findings in my site visit, when I actually found it, sorry, Vince, staff recommendation and what it does for Elevate Las Cruces, I think this really is a wonderful opportunity. I think what they're planning on doing there is going to make this look very nice on that corner. So I think that with what is down the road where a Sacred Garden, I think is the name of the facility, And they've been there, I think, for a long time, and I don't think that this is going to make any difference in terms of what your concerns are for. So in that case, I also vote no. Therefore, we have a vote of 7-0 to approve.
So you voted yes.
Oh, I voted yes. Excuse me. I voted no. I'm sorry, I vote yes. Then we have 7-0.
6-0.
We have 2-4, 2-4. Oh, who are we missing? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's it, I'm getting there. The vote, we have 6-0. Commissioner Kaiser is absent. All right, now we'll move to item 8.2. Thursday, a presentation.
Mr. Chair, Commission, I'd like to make a point of order to see if we could suspend the rules so that way we can hear both cases together.
Yes, we will take these two items together. We will discuss both, but vote separately on each.
Correct.
Pardon? Yeah, well, I'll make a motion that we discuss both of these items together, and then we'll vote separately. I'd like a motion. Okay. Yeah.
I make a motion to see the presentation together of these items 8.2 and 8.3.
I'll second that motion.
Board Member Vega?
Yes.
Board Member Smith?
Yes.
Board Member Guerrero?
Yes.
Board Member Acosta?
Yes.
Thank you. Board Member Bennett?
Yes.
Chair Gordon?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, John, go ahead.
All right, good evening, Mr. Chair, Commission. Tonight I bring you the Camino Hills Master Plan and Camino Hills Preliminary Plat. Currently, the property is located east of Spitz Street and northwest of El Camino Real, adjacent to the Alameda Arroyo outfall channel. It is located within Council District 1. It is approximately 10.954 acres, and it's currently zoned R1A, which is our single-family medium-density housing. As the property sits currently, it is vacant, undeveloped tracts of land. As we can see here from the aerial image, it's highlighted in red. And here is the zoning designation. So tonight's proposal, we're going to hear both for the master plan and preliminary plat. The master plan proposes to subdivide 6 existing parcels into a single-phase subdivision. This is going to include 52 single-family residential lots and multiple tracts for drainage and utilities. Currently, it meets the requirements of the subdivision code design standards and the 2001 zoning code, and is also supported by Elevate Las Cruces as it falls under the suburban place type the suburban neighborhood place type. The preliminary plat proposes to subdivide the 6 existing parcels once again into 52 single-family residential lots. These lots will have multiple tracts for drainage and utilities. It's also going to dedicate 0.206 acres for the widening of Spitz Street. This will also provide 5 internal local roadways that would be developed to the city's design standards and be accessed off of Spitz through Dine Avenue and Hanson. As we can see here, this is the proposed master plan. And here's the proposed preliminary plat. Public notice and input were sent to all surrounding properties. At this time, staff did receive a few phone calls in regards to notification dates. There was a section where letters were sent out with the incorrect date, and then it was rectified, but however, some did make it out with the incorrect date. Staff also received a letter yesterday morning, which was given to you prior to this meeting. It is in regards to the development of the property and adjacent neighbors. Reviews were sent to all relevant agencies and departments. All supported the proposed master plan and preliminary plat. Also in regards to this, staff is under the knowledge that the yellow property notification sign, which is a 4-foot by 4-foot yellow sign that is to be placed on all properties that come before the Planning and Zoning Commission and City Council, was not posted on site. This, prior to coming to the Planning and Zoning Commission, it does go before our Development Review Committee. On April 6th, it did go to the DRC, who reviews subdivisions from an infrastructure, utilities, and improvement standpoint. There was, after some discussion, the Development Review Committee recommended approval with conditions for the proposed master plan and preliminary plat. These conditions were to defer utility easement notation and location to the final plat submittal. Note stating that there will be no direct access to spits for houses that are along Spitz Avenue. It is also to address minor amendments to the master plan and planning submittal requirements, and finalize any roadway improvements associated with the dedication of spits at the time of construction drawings, as well as submittal and approval of a master and/or final drainage report. Staff recommendation is going to be based, for the master plan, is going to be based on approval with conditions, based upon review by relevant city staff. The proposed master plan does comply with the requirements. There were minor amendments that needed to be done as stated in the DRC. So staff has provided the following conditions. Most of it does reflect what was stated, a little bit more in detail though. Updating and getting the approved master plan, or yes, master drainage plan and report, as well as showing some dedications for tracks for utility requirements and minor amendments to the master plan from a planning and zoning standpoint. Staff recommendation for the preliminary plat is an approval with conditions. Once again, it's going to be very similar based upon staff and relevant reviews, as well as recommendations from the DRC. In this case, once again, it's still following up with the master drainage report and plan, as well as some utility requirements that needed to be addressed as well. At this time, here are your options, which are to vote yes to approve, vote no to deny, or vote yes with conditions, or vote to table.
All right, thank you, John. Is there anyone from the applicant who wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. If you please state your name and let me swear you in.
My name is David Clements, and I live at 602 Hanson Avenue, which is the southeast corner of Hanson and Spitz.
Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my biggest concern with this thing is the traffic increase.
Excuse me, sir, you're not speaking in terms of the applicant. You're speaking in terms of the, okay. I'm asking for anyone who is from the applicant who has something to speak.
I'm sorry.
All right, then when it comes to any from the audience, I'll call you back.
You want me to wait?
Okay. Is there anybody, John, is there anybody here from the applicant?
Yes, I do have a representative.
All right. Would you like to speak?
For the record, Steve Calderazzo, I'm representing the owner as the applicant. I am the applicant, but I would prefer to speak after they've had an opportunity to speak, because I may be able to answer some questions if there are any. Is that okay?
That's fine, if that's your choice.
I think that might be better.
Okay. All right, sir, then.
Sorry about that. I have a little hearing disability, so okay. I didn't hear exactly what you said.
All right, then let me swear you in. Okay. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth on the penalty of law?
Yes, I do.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, my biggest concern is the traffic increase on Spitz. Spitz already has a major traffic problem. It's a narrow road. There's a park right there where those 3 streets are going to come in. Children playing there. The ball field balls go right out onto Spitz. The speed limit is 25 miles an hour. but in reality, I've lived there 28 years. I've seen people 70 and 75 miles an hour going down Spitz. The police are out there once a week writing tickets as fast as they can write them. We've already had major accidents at Hanson and Spitz because there's no visibility. If you come west on Hanson to Spitz, I don't go out that way because you can't see anything, so I go the other way. People coming out of that subdivision are going to be a little better off because they have a little better visibility, but still I think we at the minimum need a four-way stop there to slow the traffic down, and also you're going to have 100 vehicles, 52 houses, you're going to have about 100 vehicles coming that you don't have now. That's my biggest concern of the whole thing, is we need to put in a light or a four-way stop if you allow. And I think, on the other hand, I think we ought to make them put in rear access so all the traffic doesn't come right onto Spitz. How about we go the other way out onto one of the side streets in the other direction? Because I think that's going to, I think the park, the children playing there, it's going to be a major problem. Since I've been there, we've had dozens of accidents on that. There's a little corner right there. I'm on the inside corner. The accidents happen on the outside. They come too fast. They go off the road. My neighbor's mailbox across the street's been knocked over 3 times that I know of. The house right next to that has been hit a couple of times. And I think that's going to be it used to be a whoop-de-doo that slowed people down, but then the city took it out about 10 years ago, so the speeds have increased, even though it's still 25 miles an hour. The second thing that I want to address very briefly is that I see we're building 52 houses here, 94 at the other subdivision they're talking about. Has anybody thought about where we're going to get the water for all these houses? We're already in a major water crisis in Las Cruces. I think somebody needs to look into that. We can't pipe water from the Great Lakes. The river's dry, the Elephant Butte's dry. We don't have any water, so somebody needs to think about that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Just one person? Oh, you can have 3 minutes, ma'am. If you come forward, just be careful. All right, you'll have to state your name and your address, please.
My name is Paula Trin. I live at 2719 Spitz.
Okay, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, go ahead.
As I said, 2719 Spitz, the property just south, we share the south border, 549 feet with this new subdivision. We will have backyards all the way along that 549 feet. Now, I know that this is a good infill project and we need more housing in Las Cruces, so that's not my issue, although the density might be some issue, but that's not what I want to talk about. It's 2 issues. What's going to happen with a privacy wall, a rock wall on that 549 feet with however many houses are along there, because we have our dwelling and then our backyard, which we've worked really hard on. My husband, Ernie Bean, has worked really hard on. It's park-like. People will see that and want to go in it, so I think we need a good rock wall for privacy there. Now, the second issue is probably even more complicated, and that's the utility easements. We have 2 utility easements on our property, one coming down the driveway for the power, and then straight across halfway of our property. That's why it's kind of divided, so we live on the front half and have our backyard on the back half. So the utility comes right across our yard, and then it goes right across the Camino Hills project. And it's just little regular telephone poles, type things with little wires now. Now, obviously, that's going to have to change somehow to feed those 52 homes with power. So the one pole that we have on our property it's been rotten since the day we built our house, which was 2003, and I think only the transmission lines are holding it up. So, you know, they're going to want to do something with that. And then when it crosses our property to the Camino Hills, obviously they're going to have to do something more substantial to feed those 52 houses. And what I would like, I understand from John, that at this preliminary plan, those things haven't really been set, they haven't been decided, you know, it's all going to come with the master plan. So the offer of communication and letting us know what's going to happen with the utilities as well as the wall would be what I would request. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. Sir, now you're going to have your chance. Again, please just state your name and let me swear you in.
Yes, sir. My name is Steve Calderazzo.
Okay, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth under penalty of law?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Commissioners. So this subdivision, the original design for it, obviously the lots are smaller. They meet the R1A smaller lot, single family. But this subdivision really addresses an affordable housing need that we have here in Las Cruces. I was part of the process of Banmore subdivision at Bouts and Stern Drive when the neighborhood came out and they opposed it. And we went from about an 80 lot development with apartment options on another couple of acres to down to about, if I'm not mistaken, we were in the 40 lot neighborhood. So what that did was mathematically, what they did was they took the lot prices and they jumped those lot prices up. And so now that subdivision is no longer an affordable home subdivision. That was within the city of Las Cruces. And so what we're proposing is a real affordable home subdivision. Because you're talking about lots that are affordable, that are not 70,000, which is what happened to us at Banmore, $75,000 lots. You know, your married couple, working family, blue collars, not getting into that $70,000 lot and being able to build something for their family, just not happening. So these are affordable. They're addressing a need in the community. Just to address the electrical comment, El Paso Electric's already in the process of designing the power for that subdivision. Beyond that, I don't recall any of the other concerns.
Yeah, I think she mentioned about a rock wall. Also, let me ask you a question again before you go any further. Didn't I just read? I did read that you're going to widen Spitz.
Yes, I think it triggered the need for widening or a deceleration lane to pull into that subdivision as well. We are all connecting Hainer.
Is that going to be just a deceleration lane coming down Spitz to get into the community, not
Correct.
to get out?
Correct.
Okay. I want to make sure I understood that. And she mentioned about putting up a wall. But most of the communities that we see now here, in Las Cruces, everybody has a wall.
It's whatever the code standard is going to call for that wall, whether it's retaining or not. I mean, it's going to be built to standard, whatever the requirement's going to be by the city of Las Cruces. So.
All right. Is there anybody on the commission who has some questions now?
Yeah, I know you just answered the question concerning the volume of traffic on Spitz. I'm familiar with that road, and I know that over the years there has been, a high volume of traffic, number of crashes, and you said that there's going to be a deceleration lane proposed or built. Is that something that's going to happen, or is it just something that's a proposal?
It's a requirement as part of the development of the subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Commissioner Guerrero?
I just have a quick concern, and it's not just for this neighborhood. We've seen it in a lot of other of these developments, and I don't really know. I don't really know how we address this, but I completely understand and hear the concerns of folks that talk about traffic increase. I live in a neighborhood right now where there is, I kid you not, like 200 or 300 homes being built like right behind, and traffic in the morning is awful, you know, so definitely, you know, let's keep that under consideration. But not just that, just entry and exit points as well to these neighborhoods. That needs to be addressed. I can't remember exactly in the presentation where, and, you know, and I'm not asking where they are, but, you know, just, you know, there has to be multiple entry places, you know, to address some of those concerns. So that's it. It's not a question, just a comment that, you know, it's that boiling in my head.
To add to that, the fire department requirement actually triggered multiple openings, which is why Hayner is being connected to the subdivision. So we have one off Spitz, we have Hayner, so you have Dine feeding into it, and so.
All right, is there anyone else? Commissioner Acosta?
Just one last quick comment on the part about the affordable housing. Sounds like a great proposal and everything. What keeps that firm in terms of where the economy is at now and kind of it here in the future, and how you guys plan to, you know, keep that honest?
Well, I think in the short term, it's because of the size of the lot. It's driven by the size of the lot. I mean, over on Banmore, we were forced to increase the size of the lot. The property size didn't change. It's the number of lots they allowed us to build changed, so thereby increasing the size of the lot. So we're able to maintain a 5,000 square foot lot, which is the minimum, you know, which is not a very big lot, but it's, you know, it's enough to put a nice affordable house. I mean, I think I project we're going to be looking at somewhere, you know, 1,500, 1,800 square foot homes. These are not, you know, 2,000. You know, maybe you might find a 2,000 square footer in there if we can figure out how to design it, you know, utilizing the setbacks. So other than that, that's how we guarantee that.
That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Anyone else on the commission? Okay. All right, then I guess we're ready to take a vote. We'll take a vote on the master plan first. Can I get a motion, please?
Yeah, I'd like to set a motion for, so we're doing 8.2 first, for 8.2.
With commission.
Oh, sorry, yes, with a condition recommended by the review board.
I second.
Board Member Guerrero?
Oh, me first? I guess yes. Yeah, I vote yes based on staff recommendation as well as the conditions that have been set.
Board Member Smith?
Yes, based on staff recommendation.
Board Member Vega?
Vote yes with condition based on staff recommendation.
Board Member Acosta?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation.
Board Member Bennett?
I vote to approve based on staff recommendation, meets neighborhood character, and elevate Las Cruces.
Chair Gordon?
I vote yes based on the findings in my site visit and staff recommendations and containing to elevate Las Cruces with the conditions. Therefore, the vote is 6-0. All right, it's in approval. Now we need a vote for the preliminary plat. If I can get a motion, please.
I make a motion to approve 8.3 with conditions listed in the packet.
All right, second.
Board Member Vega?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation.
Board Member Smith?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation, and it meets elevate Las Cruces.
Board Member Guerrero?
I vote yes again based on staff recommendation and elevate Las Cruces as well.
Board Member Acosta?
I vote yes based on staff recommendation and elevate Las Cruces.
Board Member Bennett?
I vote to approve based on staff recommendation, meets objectives of a preliminary plat and the thoroughfare plan.
Chair Gordon?
I vote yes based on staff recommendations, elevate Las Cruces, and good luck with your project. The vote is 6-0 in favor. So that takes care of those two items. We are now finished with current business. Is there any discussion from the commission? Is there anything they'd like to say? All right, if not, how about from staff?
Mr. Chair and Commissioner, staff doesn't have any comments this evening either.
All right, then I'd like to get a motion to adjourn.
Commissioner Guerrero, make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Thank you, everyone.